start. I'm not going through the whole book. I've just wee things I want to make sure people get to the band. I started in the Housing Association many, many years ago. I'd moved to the Gallagate and I'd started Thompson Street School, and I was 8 at the time, and after a few months I went home and told my mum, I've met the boy I'm going to marry. And she went, okay then. 10 years later I married that boy and I moved into Reedvale. We bought a flat in Bathgate Street, and that was in 1967. And when the devastation hit in the early 70s, at a meeting, a public meeting in Thompson Street School, and they were told the houses were coming down. We're going to redevelop the area, all the houses are coming down, and you're going to be sent out to the peripheral schemes outside Glasgow. I was devastated. I was 3.5 when we moved to a peripheral scheme from Bridgeton to the outskirts of Glasgow. And 4.5 years later, my mother had a major breakdown. And it was the worst time of my life. And I immediately sat there and said, not again. Next minute, I heard this man at my side shouting. Well, if it's that, he had quite a thing with language, our John. If it's that bloody good, I'll tell you about today, son, away you go. He says, because we ain't moving, and we ain't for moving. And I turned into John, I said, oh, thank God, because John was one of my neighbours that stayed across the street from me. So after that, I'd just had my first baby, and after that, I was busy working away in the community, like helping set up mother and toddler groups and all that kind of stuff, and trying to get the community together. And John came to me and he says, Irene, would you do us a favour, would you start talking to people and trying to say, I've just heard as a student that stays in Belfield Street, and he's heard about this community-based housing association movement. I don't know where it is, but it's seemingly it's down in England. We're going to check it out. He says, when we check it out, he checks it out, came back to me and says, look, this is the details. Could you go and talk to people? We need you to get them to sell their houses to the association. We need you to get them to join us, give up their time, become volunteers. They're not going to get paid, but they're going to reap the benefits of what happens in the area. So there was a traipsing up and downstairs with the baby in arms and whatever, trying to convince people. We actually sold our own flat back to the Housing Association because I really believed, when I read all the information we had, I believed in this. This was something that had never been tried before. And what got me more than anything else, the jobs that I'd had before was in the community. And I thought, there is nothing stronger than people power. And there's nothing stronger than communities getting together and fighting for what they believe in. 1975, the association was brought to the fore, and then I joined the neighbourhood centre, the South Engineer, as our first admin assistant. Great job. So I was again working with our local groups, helping them with their training on committee procedures and all that kind of stuff. So then it was community education I'd been working for, and they turned around and says to me 6 years later, do you not think you should be moving? I said, how? What have I been doing? He says, no, we think you could make a good community worker. Join social work, they're looking for community workers. So that I did, joined social work. And lo and behold, I was all over the Bridgeton area, or the east end of Glasgow. Every kind of group you could think of, working with single homes, hostel residents, male, working with children and families, working with people with addictions. It was a whole world opening up in front of me when I looked at Reedvale area. My God, what we could do to change that for the area. So I was asked in 1984 to join the committee, and I did. But in 1984, we got another meeting. Thompson Street School was closing. And the Thompson Street Schools in the Reedvale area is an area with 4 big main roads all surrounding it. And to get across them, I was thinking of these kids. I was a parents' rep for Thompson Street. We ran play schemes and clubs and everything for the kids. So we dressed all the kids up in masks, white masks, big holes for their eyes, and walked them into George Square and stood outside the chambers and said, we are not for closing. No way. The faceless children of the East End, is that what we're going to become? We managed to stop it for 18 months. And in the meantime, we got word that they were coming back for us. So I went to Rob Joyner, who was our director at the time. I said, Rob, what can we do? Irene, don't worry about it. We'll get the officials in. We'll get a study done. And we'll find out if the school can be closed, because it was built in 1875. It was a massive building. It's beautiful. Anyway, we did our work, came back. Oh, we've got it for £1. I went, what? I said, they handed all that building to you for £1? Yes, as long as we make, it's £50,000 to demolish it, but we've got to pay it if that's what's going to happen. But we didn't. The community grew together again. And we renovated that school with 19 flats. In the bottom, it was for people that maybe had mobility difficulties. The top flats were for people, families. And that school, it is private. The playgrounds were made into a car park area. And it was a private car park area. And I was so pleased. I thought, thank God we've saved the school. OK, it's not what we wanted. And I'm not going to say, because a lot of our children had a hard time. My daughter particularly had a hard time when she had to be sent on to another school, because they didn't want someone from Reedvale coming into, you know, like kids are. It can happen. It's terrible, but it did. Anyway, that was back then. I then buckled down and we took all the training we could get. And then I turned around to John. I had this wee voice in my ear, John Butterley to everybody. MB, if anybody knows him, they'll know it like a guy he was. And he says to me, Irene, we really need to be doing stuff here. We really need to get all this development done. Right, OK. As the time went on, and we seen that we started getting groups together, and I must admit, and I'm not being judgmental in this, but most of the people that came forward were women, because they were easy accessible, they were easy, they came in, they helped us with the clubs, helped us with the children, helped us with the elderly, and they were the ones that took the interest in our area, built a very, very strong community. Didn't matter what your problem was, we could get you help. The housing went ahead. We got all the new build done for older people, which used to be sheltered housing. It's now called retirement housing, because some of the group had went over to Denmark and seen this project that had been done for older people, and it was wonderful. And that's what we made when we came back. They made the older. So from birth to death, you have a place in Reedvale housing. And it's absolutely worth every single agonising time it took to get there. People, I was just saying to somebody that I was talking about, I used to do some training for Share earlier on for the roles and responsibilities of committee members. And at one of the meetings, one of the lads that was there turned around and said, excuse me, he says, but can I ask you a question? I went, of course you can. I said, that's what I'm here for. Do you ever go home? I went, pardon? He says, do you ever go home? All these things you're involved in, and you tell us about. Oh, do you ever go? I says, of course I go home. Then again. I says, one of the things my husband used to say to me, Tommy, who was an absolute rock all the way through this, because he knew I believed in what I was doing, and he backed me 100%. And he used to say to me, Irene, when are the day going to come when you come home the same day you go out? Because we'd get into a conversation, the women would get together, you know what it's like, as you go for a wee drink, and then you start talking. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, shutting time, closing time. I'll need to get back to the kids. He's like, it's about the kids. But I must say, I do not regret any time I gave to my community. I love it. It's my happy place. It's my husband's happy place. I even said to him, would you like to go look somewhere else to stay? And he says, I'm an East End boy, and you're asking me to move? No, never going to happen. I mean, good. But I think the main thing I'm trying to get across, when we started with we were called the Bathgate Street Mafia. We were dodging the bullets. And that reason was there was a lot of people in Bathgate Street, tenants, who actually joined together, and we did make a difference. We did start making sure things were happening. And I keep to say, well, the mafia, we didn't use guns and knives and threats. We used honesty, knowledge, a community focus, and a need to provide quality housing at low-cost rents. Use the local community volunteers to help us achieve our aims, and always be open and honest. If you're like that, people will follow you, and they have done. I've been there for 58 years now. I've been with the house, and I was in the Housing Association for 37 years on the committee. Oh, and the day came when this wee man, John, decided to retire from the committee, or to retire from chairperson. He'd been the chairperson for 20 years. And he always called me Hen. Aye, Hen. OK, Hen. Right, Hen. Fine. I was only young. And I always remember the day. I was so proud when I was at an event. And John's saying, Irene, come here. I said, is he talking to me? And I went over and I said, what is it, John? Mr. Ankram, this is our new chairperson, Irene. And I walked away from him. Turned around and I went, yes, I'm an adult. I've finally grown up. But with that committee done and the staff, they all mucked in together. We built that community. We are facing times, very struggling times at the moment, but I have no regrets for anything that's happened, and I am positive that Reidwell will rise again and become the association it always has been. And it's the future. We built that for not just this generation, but for generations to come. And I'm sure if we really start focusing again and the local community gets behind us, which they did do a few months ago when there was a takeover. And I was quite shocked. Mr. Sweeney was there. They rallied right round at the end. And that night of the vote, they said no. As John said, there's no such word as can't. You can and you will. Right, John? He comes back to me all the time. But he was so strong in his belief that passed on to everybody that was involved with him. And we continue to have that strength, and I believe that's going to happen for the next 50 years or 100 years. I'm hoping so, but I'd like to thank everybody in this room for your continued support and hard work, and it's going to pay off. My father had a brilliant saying, don't worry, Hen. Be happy. Everything's going to be all right. And it has been. I'm still there, still in my happy place. And the next time I'll see it is when I'm getting carted out. But I'm going to come back to haunt. Same as John. He's always my shooter all the time. As every now and again I hear his voice. Get them. But what we have achieved, we were pioneers. That's a story. We were pioneers. John said, I was saying to John, we are pioneers in this field and all the rest of it. And I turned around and I said, John, will you put the horse back away? We're known America's West. We're pioneers in Reidwell, and will continue to be for the next generation to come. And I'm sure the Community-Based Housing Association will go from strength to strength. Thank you.